While there's been many reviews about cruising on Cunard's new Queen Anne, there's not been much about what it's like to travel in their costly first-class grills ship within a ship on it. I spent 14 nights testing that out, and having also been in it on every ship in their fleet too, I think I'm well positioned to report back on what they've changed, got right, and frankly, not got right at all. Welcome aboard. I'm Gary Beveridge, and here's what I discovered from my time on board, staying in a Queen's Grill penthouse suite that cost me and my partner an eye-watering $15,000 for the cruise, even before drinks, gratuities and Wi-Fi were added. First, before diving into the premium ship within a ship experience on board, a quick overview about Queen Anne. It's the newest and largest ship in the Cunard fleet, carrying 3,000 passengers. It has a modern new look and decor inside, making it unlike any other Cunard ship, although it still has all of the regular Cunard venues. I cover what works and doesn't work about the ship overall in a separate video review. There is a link in the description. However, most relevant to this review, you need to know that like all other ships in Cunard, Queen Anne has a class-based system on board, with what they call the grills being the most exclusive. There are 4 classes, and the cabin grade you book determines which restaurant you eat in and the name of the class. So there's Britannia, which is inside ocean view and most balcony cabins, Britannia Club, which are the more elevated balcony cabins, Princess Grill, which are mini suites basically, and Queen's Grill, which are the suites. Think of it a bit like going on an aeroplane, where Britannia is economy, Britannia Club is premium economy, Princess is business or club, and Queen's Grill is their ultimate first class. The grills refers to Princess Grill and Queen's Grill guests, and they have exclusive access to several areas and perks on Queen Anne. And like many modern cruise lines around, they're located together and create an exclusive ship within a ship area open only to them. So for example, MSC Cruises has the Yacht Club, Norwegian Cruise Line has the Haven, Celebrity has the Retreat, and so on. Now, while these grills only spaces exist on the rest of the Cunard fleet, there are some key changes in them on Queen Anne. First, like the rest of Queen Anne, the decor and design of these areas and the cabins also are totally different to the other Cunard ships. It's more modern and contemporary and doesn't rely on the darker Art Deco look and feel. Second, Cunard have dramatically increased the number of Princess Grill cabins compared to their other ships. Queen Anne Princess Grill has 254 passengers, so roughly twice the amount, while Queen's Grill with 130 is roughly the same number as on Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth. So the grills overall has more passengers on the other ships, and it also therefore has larger exclusive spaces available to them. Before I talk about what the Queen's Grill people get that Princess Grill do not, let me explain what they both get, starting with the grills only deck areas. On deck 10 and 11, reached via the B midship elevators, are 2 decks of exclusive spaces. On exiting the lifts on deck 10, you will enter the Grills Lounge with a dedicated bar and seating area. While I could order specialty coffees and teas here for no charge, any drinks I had to pay for. Unlike many lines, Cunard does not include drinks, gratuities nor Wi-Fi within the premium Grills fares. The Grill Lounge is open for drinks from about 11 AM and is very popular before dinner. While it's a nice enough looking area, it proved less appealing overall, as unlike the rest of the fleet, it's effectively an indoor lounge with no views of the ocean nor the ports, nor does it have direct access out onto the decks. Also, there was a feeling that it's been a bit of nickel and diming, because instead of canapes with drinks in the evening that I was used to on the other ships, we just got served crisps and nuts. The Grills concierge has a small desk in this lounge. They answer any queries, make specialty or excursion bookings, and it basically meant I could avoid having to go to the always busy guest services, or purser's desk as Cunard calls it, down on deck 1. Although in Queen's Grill, as I will discuss later, I also had a butler who in theory could have done much of this for me too. Off the Grills Lounge were the Princess and Queen's Grill restaurants, which I will come back to, as there are some key differences between them that I need to talk about. But first of all, I want to talk about the Grills deck on deck 11 above the lounge. This is way more impressive than on any other Cunard ship. First of all, it's way bigger, with lots of areas and spaces to sit in, both under cover and in the shade on lounges and chairs. It also has 2 sort of infinity style hot tub pools. They don't have a bar up there, but they did have some bar service during the day. It does have some negatives though. Like on deck 10 for the grills, lounge and restaurants, access to the deck was not controlled in any way. So guests walking around deck 11 would use this basically as a thoroughfare because the grills deck effectively blocks the way to walk from the front to the rear of the ship. Now there is some discussion that may change and Cunard are going to make the entrances cruise card controlled, but certainly when I was on board it was not. Also, the deck is under the funnel and it's actually quite noisy, and so it's not a particularly peaceful area overall. Princess Grill and Queen's Grill guests had their own afternoon tea every day. At 3 p.m. when the famous Cunard afternoon tea is taking place in the Queen's Room, an exclusive one is laid on in the Princess Grill restaurant. I absolutely loved it because it was calm and felt very sophisticated. The waiters took our orders from a selection of sandwiches and cakes of the day and brought it with incredible scones on a beautiful silver tiered stand. They also, by the way, took a tea trolley around the grills deck at the same time for those who wanted to stay out there sunbathing. So let me now talk about some of the major differences between Queen's Grill that I was in and Princess Grill, starting with dining. As I mentioned, each have their own restaurants. With 254 passengers, Princess Grill restaurant can hold roughly twice the number that Queen's Grill can. It's a spacious filling restaurant with a range of table sizes dotted all over the place. Queen's Grill dining room, though, felt a bit more cramped and less open because it's a long, narrow room with wider spaces tucked out of sight at each end. Due to its shape, there are sections of bench seating, which some disliked, though we actually quite enjoyed them. The most sought-after tables are those for 2 people that run along the windows. Now, while we liked it, there are less good tables than on other ships in the Queen's Grill restaurant. When we were shown to our allocated table on embarkation day, we absolutely refused it because it was in one of the tucked away sections. It was right against a wall. There were no views, and we actually were given another one when we pushed back. So a very important tip, if you are going in Queen's Grill on Queen Anne, make sure on embarkation day to go at lunchtime and ideally as soon as it opens, so you can make sure that you sort out and get a good table. Of course, like all the fleet, you will get a table for 2, 4 or 6 as you wish. That's kind of guaranteed. And both restaurants are open seated dining and open for breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day. You have the same table for all those meals with the same waiting staff, which I absolutely love because I could get to know them, they could get to know me. There were 3 waiters working on each table. On our table we had Denver, who was our head waiter, and Alvin and Supak Sorn, who were assisting him. Princess Grill and Queen's Grill share a kitchen, which is also on deck 10, and the menus are basically the same. So the breakfast, lunch and core dinner menus are the same. They're big menus with the dinner menu having 3 parts. Items that change every day, an a la carte menu which stays the same, and then items that can be pre-ordered. Now those need to be ordered at lunchtime, and Queen's Grill has a bigger choice of items to order from. Both Princess and Queen's Grill can order things like Dover sole, Chateaubriand, roast chicken, duck à l'orange, but Queen's Grill can also things like beef Wellington, lobster, and importantly, caviar. If you want to have caviar in Princess Grill, you have to pay, and it's about $60 a serving. But in Queen's Grill, you can have caviar as often as you want. And I must admit, I did have it 3 or 4 times during the course of my cruise. What I also like is many of the items that are ordered are prepared tableside, like the duck à l'orange, Dover sole, crepe Suzette, and so on, adding a bit of drama as well as a sense of elevated dining. I really do like that. In Queen's Grill, you can also order things that aren't listed at all. In Queen's Grill, you're actually encouraged or enable to order off menu, and the maitre d' will come around every lunchtime asking if we wanted to order anything. The food in the Grills restaurant was fantastic, and in my experience it was some of the best food on any cruise line that I've had at sea and any cruise that I've been on. We had a slightly rocky start because I went on the ship just a week into service, but they quickly got into their stride and the food was superb. So let's talk about some of the other differences between Queen's and Princess Grill beyond dining. In Queen's Grill, all suites, as I mentioned, have a butler. Though our experience with the butler was a bit mixed because he was brand new not only to Cunard but to cruising too. So he was a little bit so-so in terms of his ability as a butler. I ended up leaving him lots of notes and asking him for lots of things, but he did all of them very happily and proactively after that. What is a first for me on Cunard was on the rear of the card with the butler and cabin steward's name was an explanation and list of what a Cunard butler could do. This was fantastic because it's always a bit of a mystery about what their roles are. It explained he could do things such as unpacking and packing, he could source different pillow types, he could sort out laundry and press garments, he could help even tie bow ties, he could bring ice and all sorts of other different amenities. He could set up and do in-suite dining, bring daily canapes, make spa dining and shore excursion bookings, even set up and host in-suite cocktail parties, and set up and restock the minibar. Now, talking of the minibar, I mentioned that drinks outside the cabin are not included. But in our Queen's Grill suite, we could choose from 2 bottles of liquor or wine from a really long list, and non-alcoholic beer, sodas and bottled waters were all included. Every day we had daily canapes delivered, which I really enjoyed. And in Queen's Grill, we could also order personalized stationery with our name and cabin on, so very fancy. Let me now talk about the cabin differences between Princess and Queen's Grill. But before I get into that, if you are enjoying my tips and advice, why don't you consider becoming a YouTube channel member or Patreon patron? For just a couple of dollars a month, you can get ad-free early access every single week to new videos before anyone else sees them, exclusive bonus on cruise and channel behind the scene videos, group cruise priority booking and cruises, ebooks to download, and bonus cruising tips. Click on join on YouTube below any of my videos, or visit patreon.com/tipsfortravelers to find out more. Now, back to those cabin differences. There is just one class and style of cabin in Princess Grill. This is like mini suites on Cunard cruise line competitors like Holland America and Princess. A good sized cabin with modern decor, bed and seating area, and a nice bathroom with shower that does have glass doors. There is more choice and range in Queen's Grill, from a Queen's Q6 suite up to a grand Q1 suite. Now, we had booked what's known as a penthouse suite. It was a Q4, which are the main type of suites in Queen's Grill, and kind of mid-range in the range of cabins. It was a great and comfortable cabin that felt to me smaller than a Pinnacle suite on Holland America Pinnacle class ships, which this grade of ships is built and based on, and it's kind of a similar grade, so a little bit smaller. It has a good seating area with sofa bed, minibar and coffee machine with divider with televisions either side, and then the bedroom area. The decor is way more modern than any other Cunard ships and has modern things like plug sockets with both USB-C and USB sockets. The bathroom looked great with a bath and a shower. They're just one basin, which I felt is less luxury. I kind of expect 2 when you're going kind of fancy. It then had a separate toilet. The suite was comfortable, had very quiet air conditioning and pretty good soundproofing. I could hear a little bit of the people next door, but not a lot. It had a fantastic sized balcony. Storage was fine with lots of hanging space. The drawer storage was kind of in the bedroom rather than with the cupboards. That was a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world. I also got to see some of the other Queen's Grill grades from people we met on the cruise, with the Q3 cabins at the rear of the ship probably being the most appealing and sought after. These are 1-bedroom suites with a large lounge, a massive balcony that curves around the side, and a very similar bathroom to ours, and a fantastic large walk-in cupboard. My experience of traveling in Queen Anne's new Grill's first class experience was very positive. I was a bit unsure at first with some aspects like the radical design change, the layout of the restaurant and so on, but as I got used to the differences, I found the service, food and things like the cabin and deck absolutely won me over. While it is better than on any of the other ships overall, Cunard Grills still does not match many other lines when it comes to premium suite experiences in many areas, as those lines do extend perks and inclusions, but they also include things like priority seating in the theatre, priority access to dining and shore excursions, and more inclusions, which Cunard Grills don't yet do. If you want to know more though about Queen Anne the ship itself and what it does and does not work on it, join me over in this video where I explore why Queen Anne is not for everybody. See you over there.